The Meg was a perfectly fine, modern-day massive shark movie that embraced the ridiculousness and played into the tropes of the genre, and I have to say that the idea of a sequel was pretty appealing to me at first. After all, things can always get crazier and more enjoyable. When the official trailer for Meg 2: The Trench dropped, this was only furthered. I was excited. The movie presented itself as a self-aware, hilarious spin on the genre. And now I've seen the movie, it sucks. Turns out the trailer was more of a highlight reel for the best parts of the film, but I guess that's what you'd expect from a trailer, so maybe I'm the idiot.
He's stupid! He's so stupid!
Anyways, let's just dive right in. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Let's start off by talking about the Meg itself. The first film did an actually impressive job of making the scale of these creatures very obvious. Anytime it was on screen, it had a certain presence and also would give a certain fear level to our characters. We could understand the danger that they were in. Meg 2 takes that and just throws it out the window. It introduces multiple Megs of varying sizes. They try to do this to make the larger Megs look more intimidating, but the larger Megs don't look any larger than the Meg that we saw in the first film. And unlike the first film, it doesn't do a good job of adjusting you to the scale of the sharks. We mostly see them in dark and dull environments. They just don't feel anywhere near as intimidating. On top of that, the body count on the sharks in this movie is so low.
What do you mean by that?
Some characters who are underwater die in other ways than a Meg. Like, why have a giant shark there if you're not even going to use it and they're not even going to eat people? Isn't that kind of the point? Isn't that why I paid $12 to watch this dang movie? They also made a really interesting and, in my opinion, poor decision to introduce other creatures into the mix. There's a giant octopus that kind of just shows up only to be used for the third act. No, really, like, he's just kind of there and you barely even see him, which is strange because they make a really big deal about introducing this octopus. They also introduce these little prehistoric dinosaurs that, in my opinion, seemed way more intimidating than the megalodon itself, which, for a movie about a megalodon, it's not a good sign.
Not a great plan.
The Meg should be the main character of his own movie, and instead, it's just sidelined. It feels like there's so much less significance put on a giant shark, which sounds stupid to complain about and stupid to say, but it's true. I'm upset that he wasn't the main character. Not even just main character, main intimidating creature of the film. Let's move on to the story, because in my opinion, that's where the film really fumbles. The first film had some side storylines, not many. The main one was about corporations wanting to capture and study the Meg instead of killing it, and I think as a whole, it did a good job of focusing on a giant shark attacking people, and never strayed too far away from that. I mean, we have a giant freaking shark, why wouldn't we use him? Meg 2 decides to introduce so many different storylines that the idea of a megalodon gets sidetracked in his own movie. We have someone trying to sabotage the mission, a third-party mining operation, corrupt corporations. Heck, even our main character has a side quest to stop toxic waste from being dumped into the ocean. This movie is about 2 hours long, and 3/4 of it feels like it focuses on God knows what, instead of on giant sharks. Like, why the I don't understand how you fumble this hard. I'm not even going into the dull characters, almost all of which have poor performances and zero personality. I haven't even mentioned the cheesy dialogue and awful one-liners. I could go on. Ultimately, you wait an hour and a half to get to a third act that has some fun moments, our main character doing some cool things, and some people getting eaten by a giant shark. Everything before that is conflated with random storylines involving poorly written and developed characters. And this may sound like a weird thing to say because we're talking about Meg 2: The Trench, but I'm genuinely upset that this movie sucks. It could have so easily leaned into the craziness of giant sharks and our main character doing some backflips on a jet ski. The pieces of a fun and exciting movie are there to fit this puzzle together, and instead it just grabs pieces of a different puzzle from a different box that's boring and dull and pointless and forgettable. I just want some good monster action, and I feel like that shouldn't be too much to ask from a movie that literally has the word Meg in the title. I think if I want to watch a monster movie from here on out, I'm just gonna stick with Pacific Rim.